Okay, hello everybody. My name is Michael Fitch. I'll be doing this webinar today. I'll be talking about TechSuite, and then afterward I can talk a little bit about our second and newest product, Kabuto, so you can stick around for that if you'd like. While I'm talking, feel free to ask me questions. There aren't a whole lot of people here today, so really, truly, if you have any questions about how TechSuite or Kabuto might work for you in your shop, feel free to ask me. I'd be happy to help. And you can ask me questions in the little questions box in the GoToWebinar control panel. Anything you type in there will show up to me in this little box here that you can't see, but it's on my screen. And I'll either pause and just get to the question immediately, or get to it at some point if I know that I'll be talking about it. So let's get started. Like I said, we'll be talking about TechSuite. And TechSuite is a toolkit that is designed to help automate Windows repairs. And it comes with 3 tools: Waru, TechUSB, and TechPortal. Let's talk about Waru first. Waru stands for Tech Windows Automated Repair Utility, and it's a lightweight, portable application. This is it right here. I put it on the desktop of my Fate customer's machine, Sam, and it's about 17 megabytes. But when I run Waru, I'll select Tools, and I'll have Waru automatically download and run whichever tools I've selected. And when it does so, it will put those tools into this assets folder, which Waru generates when it's first run. So the idea is I download Waru onto a customer's machine, I run it, and Waru puts all the tools that it downloads into this assets folder. And then when I'm finished with the repair, I can simply delete these 2 items from the computer and pack out what I just packed in. So I'm going to open up Waru here and show you what that looks like. Right now we can see my little custom branding that I've included, this logo that I put in for my fake computer repair shop. And Waru went ahead and checked for updates, and it checked my authentication information to make sure I'm a registered, authenticated user. And this welcome screen here allows me to input information about my customer. And I gave Sam a ticket number, 88. And we see a technician name, pretty straightforward. Once we hit continue here, I'll get to this Tools tab. And this is Waru in a nutshell here. This is where I build up queues with various tools and run them. When I hit run here, Waru will go through each of these and download them and run them in succession in this order. So I'll go into more about the Tools tab, but I'll just glance over these other tabs really quick. System information will show me information about Sam's computer. Waru has a migration tool which can back up data, migrate it, and restore it. This reports page will simply show me the most recently generated report. More into that later. And in this options tab, we'll get to this at the end. There's a lot to go over here. I'd like to go over a couple of these tabs. But going back to the Tools tab right here, I've already explained what the queue is. I can load up different tools into the queue by finding them in this Tools section right here. And I can search for tools like that and add them to the queue by double-clicking from here. Or I can just double-click on the tools, adding them to the queue like so. I can also use this little caret right here. Similarly, I can remove them from the queue just by double-clicking them. And different tools are organized into different categories. Most of the tools in Waru are completely automated, but some of them require some user interaction on your part. So obviously, I'd like to say that 100% of the tools in Waru are automated, but for various reasons, most notably legal reasons, we can't build automation to run, say, mail pass view. So if you have this tool in your queue, just know that at some point, that is when Waru gets to this tool, you will have to interact with it at some point. So what we recommend is simply putting those tools with asterisk next to them at the top here, so that when I hit run, I can get all the manual clicking out of the way, and then the rest of the queue will continue. So what was loaded up here is, I'll go ahead and clear this for now, was a preset that I built beforehand, and I named it Demo Preset. And I can take a look at all my presets here. Waru comes with all 7 of these listed right here. And these are presets that we've made that we feel like are useful, and they're a good starting place. Each of these has about 40 tools in them. This one is very short. And I built this simply by selecting various tools, adding them to the queue, and then saving it as a new preset. And then I was able to access it by this load screen right here. So I'm going to go ahead and run this queue just to show you what it looks like. TechWaru first will create a system restore point, and then it will go through each of these tools and download them, again, putting them into the assets folder, and run them. And when it's finished with that, it will generate a report for us to look at. And it will start to upload that report to our online accounts page. It will keep all reports there so we can look at them later. Okay, so that was obviously a really short queue. We ran 7 tools, it took 21 seconds. And we can look at the report here in TechWaru, but I will open it up in a default browser. It's a much bigger screen, obviously, and this is a fully responsive page. So at the top left, we have my custom branding, my little logo, the customer name and ticket number. That's what I put in at the beginning. Technician name, the date, tools run, time it took, some basic information about the computer, some alerts. And what we have next here is a comprehensive list of each of the tools that were run. So I'll just go ahead and go through these really quick. We backed up the registry, took a look at what's in the startup, checked the smart status of the drive, took a look at the battery info view, excuse me. And here we see all the installed apps. It's a big long list. The product keys, we ran Registry Investigator, and this is a proprietary tool that you get with TechWaru. We developed this with Ken Dwight, aka the virus doctor. This tool will, not surprisingly, investigate the registry. It will scan the Windows registry for any values that are commonly modified by malware and take action to reset those back to what they should be. Okay, so yeah, just quick review. That was me looking at a report that I ran, that was generated, excuse me, after I ran this queue right here, and I loaded that up as a preset right here. Okay, so now I'll jump all the way to options. I want to go over a few of these tabs, and I'll start with the config file. The config file, and I'm just going to read this in its entirety. Your config file contains all of your TechWaru presets and custom applications, as well as any settings related listed below. If you want to use the same configuration across each copy of TechWaru, use the export feature below and import your config file to other copies of TechWaru. So the easiest way to cash out what that all means is to imagine that you've built a bunch of awesome presets that you think will be useful for later repairs, and you can see them here. And that's all well and good for this instance of TechWaru. But like I said, the idea is you're downloading TechWaru, using it, and then deleting it if you want to, a bunch of times for every computer that you're repairing. So when you do that, you would lose all these presets were it not for the config file. The config file allows you to standardize the way you use TechWaru. So what you would do in that case, after you've built a lot of awesome presets, is you would export your config file to TechPortal. You can do so here or through application, export config file to TechPortal. And then when you download the TechWaru again on a new computer, you would open it up and you would want to import your config file from TechPortal. And that just brings in all the settings changes, all the, TechWaru will act the way that you set it up beforehand. Okay, moving right along to custom applications. This is where you can add applications to TechWaru that don't already come with it. So for instance, right here, I've added Sophos virus removal tool already. So I'll hit modify selected app and just go through the motions with everything filled out for me. But all the following steps are exactly the same as if I hit new custom app. So first off, I'll have to name the tool. We'll have to instruct TechWaru where to download it from, where to get the tool from. I'll have to download from the internet. And since I selected that, TechWaru will prompt me for a direct link to the tool. This happens to be an exe file, but this could be an MSI or BAT file, as long as it's a direct link to the executable. And once I hit next, TechWaru will, in the background here, just check that URL. And then afterward, we'll have to specify when and where this tool can be run and how we want it to run exactly. And this will be done in just a moment. Here we go. Do you want TechWaru to download a fresh copy of the application every time? I'll select yes. If there's any updates to Sophos, I want to get in on those, so yes. And I'll put it in the malware removal category. It's an antivirus tool. And right here is where I could put in any command line parameters that Sophos virus removal tool could accept. So it could look something like this. And doing so, if Sophos could accept this, which I'm not sure if it can or can't, but I'll be leaving this blank. But if I put in something like that, that would make Sophos run automatically. I'll just leave it blank for now. And here, TechWaru is asking me, should I randomize the application name before running it? Like, yes, this might fool any malware that's looking for particular names. So right here, I'll have to specify what operating systems the application works on and what architectures it works on. Does the application require user interaction? In this case, it does, because I haven't included any command line parameters to make it run automatically. And these last two fields are for the purposes of getting the information that Sophos gets when it runs into our reports at the end. Basically, we have to tell TechWaru where to find that log file and what it's called. And after I hit Save New App, I'll be able to see the tool right here, and of course back in the Tools page in whichever category I specified. So I can add it to my queues here, maybe put it at the front would be a good idea. And now when I ran this queue, the first thing TechWaru would do is go to that URL that I specified and download this for me. I believe it's the installation wizard. So that's how you add a custom application. In tool settings here, I just want to go over one button, and that's this button down here, Update Third-Party Apps. Hitting this button will instruct TechWaru to download all the tools that it has access to into the Assets folder. So this is handy for offline repairs, right? TechWaru usually downloads tools on demand. It comes with over 300, so in order to keep it light and portable, it downloads them on demand. But obviously, if the computer you're working on isn't connected to the internet, it can't do that. So doing this will flood this Assets folder with all the tools, and you can simply drag and drop these two items into, say, a USB drive and do offline repairs that way. In malware automation settings, here's where you can specify what each of these tools will do when they're run. So not all of the tools have all three of these options, but I'll just go over RepairTech right here because it does have all three. So if I have, say, scan and quit selected for RepairTech, that means that whenever I run RepairTech in a queue, it will scan and it'll quit. It'll put all that information into my report at the end, but it won't do anything else, as opposed to scan and hold, which, when RepairTech is run, it will scan and the application will stay open, and it'll indicate what it thinks is malware, and you can do the removal from there. Delete and quit will tell RepairTech to, when it scans, it's going to delete everything that it thinks is malware, and then exit the application. Most active of all three of these options, obviously. And again, either way, all the info about what it did will get into the report at the end. Okay, so that's TechWaru right there. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to type them in the questions box. But for now, I'd just like to move on to TechUSB. So this is TechUSB right here, and it's a similar tool to TechWaru in that it automates tools and generates a report at the end. But it runs a completely different set of tools, and it runs in its own bootable environment. So obviously it runs outside of Windows. And this is what TechUSB looks like right here. So we're here in the TechUSB bootable Linux environment. And what this window is, what we have open, is the TechUSB Automator. And this is the main tool of TechUSB. And so up at the top here, just as in TechWaru, you can type in your customer's information and ticket number. And here you simply select which of these tests you'd like to run by checking these boxes. And once you hit run, TechUSB will go through them all. And then when it's done, it'll generate a report, just like TechWaru's. So in this case, we ran these tools, and looks like ABG picked up 2 infections. So I'll go over these tests really quickly. This test can use up to 17 different memory tests. And you can configure exactly how many are run by just hitting config right here. HDD block and HDD smart are hard drive health tests, and they're meant to be used together. In HDD blocks, you can hit config to specify how many bad blocks the test will find before it stops scanning altogether. The idea being, if the hard drive has bad blocks and is damaged, we want to do as little reading on it as possible to increase the likelihood that we can recover as much data as possible. This FS health check, file system health check, will attempt to fix errors associated with these. And ClamAV and AVG are the two anti-malware engines in the TechUSB Automator. So that's the TechUSB Automator, which you can see right here. We've included these other supplementary tools in TechUSB that are useful. We don't make these, but they're useful, so I'll go over what a few of them can do. LX Terminal can retrieve Windows passwords and Windows keys, say if you can't boot into Windows. GR Sync down here does backups, restorations, recoveries. And Iceweasel Web Browser is obviously a web browser. You can use that, go online, download any Linux tools that you like to use but that aren't included here, and run them. And when you first boot into TechUSB, it will prompt you it'll ask you if you'd like to set any memory aside for persistence. So you could put in, say, a gigabyte, and then go and download other tools, and then keep them on this TechUSB. So going way back here, how I got here was I went to my tech portal, and I downloaded the TechUSB Creator. And I plugged in the USB stick, and I ran the Creator. And it will ask me to specify a drive. I select the drive that I plugged the USB into, and I run the Creator. After I do that, I'll have a TechUSB, and I can simply plug the TechUSB into a computer that I'm working on and boot from TechUSB. And similarly, right here is where I can download copies of Waru. And all TechSuite subscriptions come with unlimited access to these. Again, you can download Waru and delete it, download it again as many times as you want. So that's TechUSB. The Automator is very simple. Select which of these tools you want to run, goes through them, runs them, and then you get a report at the end. And as long as the computer is connected to the internet, this report will get uploaded to Tech Portal, which is what I'll be talking about next. So Tech Portal is my computer repair dashboard. Up here in the top right, there's some stuff you might expect in your account settings. You can manage your technicians, but I'll just be going through these tabs right here. So in the dashboard, you can access the bench. And the bench is where you can see all of the current instances of Waru and TechUSB that have been run or that are currently being run. So right here in my account, there's only one instance of Waru open, and we see it right here. Looks like Michael's a tech, that's me. It's been idle for 12 minutes, and the customer whose machine it's on is Sam Sycamore. And that is what we had open right here. So that's what we're looking at. So this is just a handy way to, at a glance, take a look at what's going on in your account. If you're running Waru on 10 different machines, and you don't want to have to go to each of those machines to check up on the progress, the bench saves you from doing that. So if Waru were in the middle of a really long queue, there would be a little progress bar saying what tool was running and how far along it was. It would also let you know if at any point there was manual interaction required, and you could simply go over to that computer and work on it. In reports here, you can take a look at all the reports that have been uploaded to your account. You can organize those by tech or all of them. So if I click on this report here, we can see the report that I showed you at the very beginning. You can customize these reports. You can do so right here by hitting New. And this will allow you to make a different report layout. Simply select what you'd like to be present in the report or deselect what you don't want to be in there. Give it a name, save it, easy peasy. So in this case, beforehand, I've made this customer-facing layout. So once I click on that, all of my reports down here now become viewable in this new layout. So I'm going to look at the same queue that I ran. These two are the same work that I did, but they're presented differently. This one, this customer-facing layout, is a lot shorter. I could print this out and it'd be about a page. And what's also different about this one is it doesn't have the metrics in the top right here, the number of tools run and the time it took. So as you can see, this would make something appropriate, something good for me to pass off to Sam as a proof of labor or something like that. I could also email this to him. Whereas this one, it's just way too long to print out, and these metrics up here might not convey the right message to Sam. In settings, there's 3 different chunks. Custom branding is very straightforward. This is where I can just make TechWaru look like mine, my own. I can upload my logo right here, change the title bar text, and the URL that I get directed to once I click on my logo. In settings integrations, this is where I can set up an integration with a CRM that I might be using. So for instance, if I were using RepairShopper, I just click on this right here, fill out these fields, and after that, whenever a report got uploaded to Tech Portal, it would immediately be forwarded to RepairShopper. So that way I can keep all my customers' information in one place, as is the idea behind CRMs. I can also use a webhook to forward all of my reports to, say, Google Drive or Dropbox. In Settings Configure TechWaru, this is where I can make changes to the way all instances of TechWaru are run in my account. So a lot of this stuff I can change inside of TechWaru, and then, as I mentioned earlier, export my config file to Tech Portal. But this is a way for me to directly change my config file. So for instance, I could select this and have TechWaru disable sleep on the computer every time it starts up, so that the computer doesn't fall asleep if I'm running a really long queue. I can change the malware automation settings that I talked about earlier. I can specify a startup password for TechWaru. That's something I can't do inside of TechWaru itself. And I can specify a startup executable and tell TechWaru to launch that every time it gets launched. In this case, I've uploaded a TeamViewer, which will, once I have this selected and save that, it would upload this TeamViewer instant customer executable. So this is useful for RMM executables. And down here we can see a list of all the presets and custom applications that are in my account. If I make presets that I want to share with all my techs, I can do that, hitting this and sharing it with all the techs who don't already have it. And ditto that for custom applications. I can also add them and remove them to my config file. I want to point out this help button right here. This takes you to our help center. Pretty useful place. You can search for something like this and get some examples of useful custom applications to add to TechWaru. Okay, so now I've gone over a bit about TechWaru, TechUSB, and Tech Portal. I'll pause here for a minute or so. Does anybody have any questions about TechSuite? Okay, so I will just move right along, leave TechSuite behind, but again, if anything comes up, feel free to ask. And now I'll talk about Kabuto, which is our second and newest product. Kabuto is an application that you install on your customer's machine. So it's very different than TechWaru and TechUSB. It's something that you leave behind, you install on their computer yourself, and it stays there. This is Kabuto right down here. In this case, I've uploaded my custom branding, the icon I've changed right here. But Kabuto rests in the system tray and checks for different things. Every 6 hours, it will check in for updates. It'll try to update itself. And if there's any updates available, it'll do that silently. It'll check for any changes that you've made to it, and I'll get into more of that later. And finally, and this is most importantly, it will check for triggers. And it'll check to see if anything's seriously wrong with the computer. And if it finds something, it will issue an alert that looks like this. So in this case, what caused Kabuto to trigger this pop-up right here is that the hard drive needs to be defragmented. And at the top and bottom here, we see information about my fake PC repair shop, my custom logo that I showed earlier, and who it was installed by, information about my shop. And so my customer, let's say it's Sam again, once he sees this, he can choose to hit Request Service. And once he clicks that, he'll get a pop-up that looks like this. And this will autofill with information that I've included. And he can type in, some information about exactly what's going on with his computer. And he can request a call to me. And from that point, I will get an email notification about that. And I will also be able to see his request here in the requests page in my Kabuto dashboard. I'm now in my Kabuto dashboard. I'll just go ahead and close that request. So Kabuto is basically a way to let your customers know if their computer needs service and makes you the most convenient repair shop for them to get service from. It's very quick to install. Just demo that really quick. Just type in your company's information, your customer's name, email, and phone. This is the stuff that gets autofilled in that window I just showed you. Hit select which language you'd like Kabuto to be in. And before you finish installing, you select which triggers you'd like to be activated. So if all of these are on, this means that Kabuto will issue a pop-up alert if, say, the firewall is disabled, or if the hard drive is very low on space, etc. So you can choose which of these that Kabuto will monitor for. And once you hit install, it takes about 5 or 10 seconds, and then Kabuto sits here in the system tray just like this. And so the custom branding that I pointed out can be changed here in settings branding, custom logo, and icon. Here's where I can show exactly what my information will be shown on the alerts and the call request windows. In devices, here's where I can take a look at all the devices that I've installed Kabuto on. So in this case, it's just a demo account. It's just 2. But we see we have Sam's computer right here. That's this guy. And I can take a look at Sam's computer's information about Sam. And those trigger settings that I had that I showed you at the beginning when I pretended to install it, I can change those remotely right here. Say if I no longer wanted to monitor for device manager problems, I could deselect that and then hit update. And the next time Kabuto checks in, again it's once every 6 hours, Kabuto will no longer issue alerts when it detects a problem with the device manager. Backing up a little bit on this list, we can take a look at this activity page, which shows you recent events associated with your account, and unsynced devices. So these are devices on my account that haven't synced in a while. And this could be for various reasons. Maybe the device hasn't been turned on in a long time, or hasn't been connected to the internet, or somehow Kabuto got uninstalled from the computer. So this allows me to basically remove these devices from my account so that I'm not paying for them if the computer's not being used at all. I can take a look at common alerts and common operating systems that I'm installing Kabuto on. In settings here, this account information is what you might expect. I can change notification settings down here. I can change the default device language, where the request calls get sent to, and my account email. Soon we'll be releasing a customer-facing installer so that customers can install Kabuto on their own. It'll just be a much more simplified version than what I showed you with the installer. My payment information. Here's where I can adjust the plan that I'm on. Right now I'm on the growth plan, which allows me to put Kabuto on up to 250 devices. All Kabuto accounts, when you're starting up, they come with a monitoring trial and a branding trial of 30 days. I've just given myself a really long monitoring trial here. So with the growth plan, which is a paid plan, you do get custom branding. But with the starter plan, which is free forever, you just do a 30-day trial with custom branding, and you can install Kabuto on 50 devices. So this is $119 a year. That breaks down to about 4 cents per month per device. It's pretty cool. I'd like to point that out. And there are other plans after that. In integrations, this is where I can set up an integration with RepairShopper. And once I've done that, all requests for calls will get sent into RepairShopper as leads. And this remote access integration section down here will allow me to do the following. Let's say Sam gets a pop-up from Kabuto and it says something, and he gives me a call. I can instruct Sam to right-click Kabuto, and in this case, left-click on Enable Team Viewer. And again, this will launch what I mentioned earlier, Team Viewer's instant customer executable. And then Sam could, over the phone, read me off these numbers, which would allow me to remote into his computer and take a closer look. That's just an example of something that you can do. But the idea is definitely leaning toward RMM, remote access integration. I can change, of course, exactly what will show up right there. Okay, so on Sam's machine, everything I've showed you up until this point has been the basic functionality of Kabuto. However, right now we have an add-on called monitoring, as you can see here, and future add-ons will come. But right now, we just have monitoring. Monitoring allows you to take a look at your customers' computers right here without them reaching out to you first. So in this case, I've installed Kabuto on Connor's machine, and I've also activated monitoring. I could have done that when I installed it, or I could have done that after the fact by hitting Enable Monitoring. So there's a little green circle next to most of these items. That means that everything is fine with these. But with the device manager, there's a little red circle. Looks like something's wrong. And I can look at exactly what's causing that right here. So this is, a service that I might be providing for Connor, and he might be paying me for it. If I wanted to, I could have him not get any alerts. I could monitor. When this happened, I received an email about it, and I could, choose to contact Connor and try to fix it for him. So like I said, monitoring is an add-on, and it's an additional cost to these plan costs right here. These are base plans. Monitoring runs 50 cents per month per device. So say you can have 250 device cap, and you can have Kabuto just installed on 250 devices, but say you only want to monitor 100. You'd be paying 50 cents per device per month for those 100. And that can be disabled and enabled at will. Okay, so I think I've gone over everything in Kabuto, but does anybody have any specific questions about Kabuto or TechSuite at this point? Anything at all? Okay, so someone's asking here, does the custom branding icon update if changed? It does. Kabuto will, during its sync, during its once every 6 hour sync, it will definitely update custom branding if you've changed it. And the default icon right here looks like this. Okay, well, I think I'll end the webinar now. If anybody has any questions, if like 10 minutes from now you realize, oh, should I ask this? Feel free to just email me directly at michael@repairtechsolutions.com. Again, I'd be happy to help. Take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye.